At this moment, I'll turn it over to you, John.
Thank you, Mike. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about digital transformation and how to tackle cybersecurity within everybody's environment and some trends that we're seeing in the industry. So I'm going to kind of just jump in, but before we get started, I also want to set up for our next webinar, which will be on May 19th. Toy Johnson-Vincent's going to be joining us. She has a podcast. She's a talent acquisition specialist and a master networker. And she's actually going to be joining us at the end of the webinar today to give a quick overview, but you'll be seeing things on LinkedIn and invites. It'll be May 19th. So real quick, today what we're going to cover is we're going to talk obviously about cybersecurity and digital transformation. And what does actual digital transformation mean, and what's some clarity around that? And what are some good ideas around cybersecurity plans and how to make them efficient within your organization? My name is John Rubito. I am the Executive Vice President here at TransTech IT Staffing. I've been in the staffing industry for 26 years, mostly based out of Chicago, but supporting clients throughout the country. One of our areas of focus is obviously cybersecurity and how we're helping organizations with digital transformation, and have definitely seen cybersecurity change over the years. That's for sure. I remember 20 plus years ago, no one even knew what that meant. And obviously, as things have evolved, so have the jobs. So you can definitely follow me on Twitter. There's my Twitter handle. And obviously, I will share some of my other contact information during the course of today. At this point, I want to introduce JD Arthur. JD, why don't you give a quick little intro about yourself?
Good afternoon. So I'm JD Arthur. I'm a virtual CIO for Mother G at Compass MSP. So I do budgeting, strategic planning, meet with the stakeholders and business owners to make sure that the IT decisions and the IT infrastructure are in line with your business processes and your business goals.
Welcome, JD. We certainly appreciate you hosting this today.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
One thing, there is my email information. If anyone is interested in a market review, we've been helping organizations, for a long time, but especially over the last year, to kind of help set what expectations are with supply versus demand of all IT personnel in any particular market, salary expectations, what we're seeing on amount of jobs available versus individuals in the marketplace, and what other clients are doing. If anyone wants a 15 to 30-minute market review, please reach out to me, my jrubito@transtechit.com. More than happy to spend time with you to discuss. All right, so all of you that are on the call today filled out a survey, and we're going to go through some of those survey details. And I think you'll find some interesting data that we came across. And obviously, we could discuss those. If people have questions, we could discuss those at the end. And you could send Mike Vizo any questions you have during the course of the webinar today. So, survey results. The first question that we asked: do you find it difficult to identify valuable cybersecurity skill sets? Out of 1 through 10, average was 6.2, which was basically most people found it difficult to find cybersecurity skill sets. One of the things that we've seen change here in the marketplace is what is an actual cybersecurity is a very vague blanket statement. What does that mean? At a high level, cybersecurity means you're protecting your business. How do you protect your business day to day? So it is, companies and individuals are having challenges as they hire cybersecurity skill sets. How do they adapt to the team? Because not only do you have one cybersecurity person within a small to medium to large organization, but you might have multiple people with different skill sets, and finding the right people to adapt and fit in within your organization is a challenge that most organizations are seeing today. Is the need for talent outweighing the talent acquired? Really, it was kind of a coin toss. It was 5.3 out of 10. And what we're seeing there is it's a 50-50. Our people have the mentality of, do I need to have a body in the seat versus do I need the right person in the skill, in the seat? And obviously you want to hire for the right need that you have. But a lot of times what we're seeing within organizations is, I need a cybersecurity person now. I need somebody in there, hire, without thinking through about the type of skill set that you actually need. And every organization is different for the type of person that fits within their environment. The last question that we asked is technology improvement consistently a need of the organization? 6.2 was the average response. Most are focused on IT improvement. Quite honestly, I would have thought this number would be higher. Obviously, integrating security within your environment and within IT has always been is a big challenge, and it's more of a challenge now than ever. I think that during the COVID days, there was always kind of an emphasis on security, but as everyone went remote, or 40 to 50% of us went remote, security became even a bigger issue. And also what organizations, the challenges they're finding is, how do you tie security to the business? Obviously, security is great within the IT world. Everyone knows that they need to be secure within their environment, but how are they tying that to the business initiatives that they have? And more importantly, how are they tying that to their vendors and to their customers? That is, I think, one of the steps that gets skipped along the way is, yes, there is a focus around digital transformation and tying in security, but how are we also have to look at ourselves, but how do we tie it into our vendors and our customers? Because if we're open to hacks, so are our customers and our vendors. So what does all that mean? And that's what JD is going to jump in today and talk about is, how do you prevent yourself? How do you keep yourself safe? And what does cybersecurity mean for organizations that he's been dealing with? So JD, why don't you jump in?
Sure, thanks, John. So a theme that we're going to touch on a lot today is alignment. And by that, I mean keeping your business and your technology aligned. So a lot of IT decisions are being made now by business units on their own, not considering other factors. And so you're not necessarily selecting the right tool or the right solution. So the main thing we want to focus on here is, does this decision that you're making as far as technology help improve your business units and your business overall? So the goal here is to gain a competitive advantage. If you work in tandem with your IT department in concert with accounting and marketing and sales, these decisions should be made in order to increase efficiency, increase productivity, and also by doing so, increasing employee satisfaction. If you don't have the right tool for the job, and no matter what context you put it in, it's going to lead to frustration. It's going to lead to wasted time, which leads to wasted money. And that directly affects your most valuable asset to every organization, no matter what size, and that's your employees. So the example that I give here is, it's very rudimentary and basic, but it shines a light on the root of what we're talking about here. So we have hammer versus wrench. Well, what in the world does that mean? So let's say I present to you, here's two tools. Here's a hammer, here's a wrench. Well, in a vacuum, you might say, they're both useful tools. They're great. Okay, so when wrenches were all the rage, which obviously we all know wrenches were definitely all the rage at one point in time, everyone went out and bought a wrench because you had to have the best wrench to do business. Well, if you then backtrack and say, what's the utility or use of this? And I tell you that my business that I bought this wrench for is to roof houses. You made a very poor decision because you went with the fancy tool that was all the rage and didn't consider the utility or use. So then if we look at that from the employee's point of view, if you're an employee of that company and your executives or ownership went out, or even your business unit, and made the decision, everyone's talking about wrenches, we got to have a wrench. You're going to be really unhappy trying to pound all those nails with a wrench. What you needed was a hammer, because that's what the job entailed. That's the solution that would have been best suited for what the goal is. So making those decisions without any insight into the use and how they are absorbed into your business is a mistake that we see over and over. And there are both hard costs and soft costs once you make that decision on the wrong tool.
Understood. So JD, let me ask you a question. A lot of times what we see with our customers is when they're building out teams, whether it's, a security team or even a data team, but, a lot of times the question is, do we build out with the strategist first, or do we build out with the technologists and then hire the strategist? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'll use a term that you guys can go Google. And I'm not talking about Martian. So Google purple people and see what comes up. So here's the background on that. So you have the strategists that speak red, right? Like that's the language they speak, because their focus is on the business process side. And then you have the tech guys, the engineers that speak blue. They don't necessarily understand the other language. You need those translators in the middle that can live in both worlds and can explain from the business strategy side what they're trying to accomplish, and then translate that into the best technology for that stated goal. Again, if you go and make those decisions in a vacuum and the strategists say, well, I heard about this tool and we have to use it. A lot of times the IT guys are just going to say, okay, you giving me a project to do, let's do it. It's not until after the fact that you realize.
I think JD froze up there for a second.
Yeah, we'll give them a quick second to pop on, but I think that's a great point, that JD was making there at the moment. It's something that we see in resumes as well, or that we talk to about our clients as well and looking for in resumes. Do you have the flexibility? I mean, you just did that video a couple of weeks ago, John, when we were giving resume tips and what hiring managers can look for, but you want to have the flexibility, somebody that can speak both languages. Can they understand what the technology is and speak to it on maybe that micro level, but also can they understand what the business goals, the business values are, and how can these two things marry each other?
Correct. So I think we lost JD for a second. He'll be back in a second.
Yeah, I mean, even though, while we wait for JD to come back, I think it's an interesting point where people do think, like, do you have to focus on one aspect of the business? Should you just get the latest and greatest thing and just assume that it's going to work? And I'm excited for JD to come back and talk to everybody about that on the cybersecurity end, is the fact that, just because you have something that's the latest and greatest doesn't necessarily mean it actually works. And we'll talk about some of the holes that it can leave in your cybersecurity defenses. If you do have the wrong tool, it can leave that gap. Again, if you're thinking about it from a construction standpoint, if you're trying to fill a hole with a nail and it's too small of a nail, then there's still that daylight that's going to come through. And that's what cybersecurity, protection's about, is trying to, mend all those pieces of the fence, so that way there isn't those holes that people can kind of slip through the cracks.
Right. I think the key, Mike, that brings up a good point, is not to implement technology for the sake of technology. It's really how let's go down the road that's going to be most effective for our business.
JD is back with us. Give him a second to pop up.
There he is.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Apparently the internet in Florida is a little unreliable.
That happens. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Where'd I drop?
You were just talking about how you were tying it all together.
Yeah, so I think I was going down the path of the purple people, which you need to that can speak both languages, so that the business processes and the technology can be in alignment, and you're not making those decisions without considering the other factors in your technology ecosystem.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of the problems and solutions, JD.
All right, so let's talk then about cybersecurity. So the FBI IC3 Internet Crime Report for 2020 came out a few weeks ago. There are some numbers that I want to pull out of there, but let me first start off with there have been a whole bunch of surveys that executives and business owners take every year. The number one overall business concern is cybersecurity, and that's not just their number one technology concern, that's the overall business concern. And some of these facts and numbers are going to tell you why. So as we all know, the last year was rough for everybody, right? Global pandemic, everything shut down. The threat actors seized upon that. Although these guys are morally bankrupt, unfortunately, they're extremely intelligent. So where everyone else saw a global pandemic, they saw an opportunity. And so some of these numbers, 2020 was a 69% increase in reported cyber incidents to the FBI. That's a 300,000 event increase. That estimates $4.2 billion in associated costs with those cyber events. The thing that you have to keep in mind with those numbers, yes, they're staggering. 2020 was immensely difficult. Those are only the reported incidents. By and large, most security incidents, especially among small and medium businesses, are never reported. So those numbers in reality are actually much higher, which is scary in and of itself. So the issue here is then, how do I protect myself? Because there is no bulletproof. You can say, JD, here's $10 million, make me bulletproof, make me completely secure. It's not possible. Ask the FBI, ask the federal government, that they spend a lot of money, but there's no way to make yourself bulletproof. So what do you focus on? The first thing you need to focus on is, and it's bold there, is your infrastructure, your environment. No two solutions are going to be the same across all environments. And that goes back to the size of your business, your budget, the tech savviness, if you will, of your employees. And so look for tools that give you the greatest return on investment. And also you need to look at what are the largest threat vectors. The number one threat vector is always email. That's the number one attack method that most threat actors use, regardless of what business is. They come after you, they phishing, spear phishing, we've all heard these terms, because everyone uses email. And no matter the size of your organization, the weakest link is always, always, always your employees. You can do security awareness, which we strongly advise. You can do phishing campaigns where you try to phish your own employees and then say, let's talk about why you shouldn't click on this. But that's always the number one vulnerability spot in an organization. And now what we've seen spike tremendously because of work from home is external access to a network. So think VPN is the number one, along with solutions like remote desktop, Citrix, things like that, because they know people are not in the office. They know maybe the IT wasn't as diligent as it should have been when they opened those ports to the outside. So they're scanning networks constantly, looking for vulnerabilities to get into your network so that they can use that to make money.
I think we have, Mike, do we have a question from the audience?
Yeah, we're going to take everyone's questions at the end, but I thought this was important as JD was talking about email. And the question is, JD, is that the most basic line of security that a business should have, is something that protects your email, your inbox, and protects employees from being spear-phished? I guess maybe something like Barracuda.
Yeah, so there's a lot of solutions. Number one, at a baseline, some of the things that are, must-haves are still antivirus, firewall. These are things that almost all businesses have nowadays. You couldn't really survive without them, but the threats have gone far past what those solutions protect. So yes, spam filter is a must, even if not for security, for the sanity of trying to manage your inbox with all of the flood of illegitimate emails that hit it. And now there are AI-based spam protections that learn how you communicate, when you communicate. They even learn how the words you use and the way you form sentences. And it sounds a little creepy, but they're not spying on you, but they want to learn, does this email look suspicious in any way? So some of the AI-based solutions and spam filters that we use will actually send an email to the end user and say, this message says it's from John Rubito, the one that's trying to tell you that to change the account that you're going to send money to, but John doesn't speak in this tone. He doesn't normally send emails at 2 a.m. And by the way, the originating IP on this is from China. So they have made advances, but above and beyond that, there are other solutions necessary. So yes, email is extremely important. And the way you access that email is extremely important. So most organizations use Office 365. If they don't, some still use Gmail or even hosted Exchange, but Office 365 is by far the most prevalent. Protect.
Oh, I think we're breaking up here a little bit again. Did we lose him again, Mike? So I think that Mike's on mute here. I think we lost him. We lost JD.
Apologize for that. We actually have our next webinar guest, Toy Johnson Vincent, with us today. So we were going to speak with you a little bit later on, but I figured hey, why not have a commercial? Everybody gets a commercial.
Exactly.
Why not now?
Hi, Toy. How are you?
How are you, Jonathan? How are you, Mike?
We're fine. We're having some technical difficulties, so we're going to shift here a little bit. So, Toy, we kind of introduced you in the beginning. We want everyone to get excited about May 19th. From what I understand, you are a master networker. You have a specialty in talent acquisition, and you have a podcast. And I'm really looking forward to May 19th because I'm a big believer in networking. And I will tell you, the last 12 months, networking has become a challenge. So I think everyone on here today would love to hear a little preview about what May 19th looks like.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And first, I just want to thank you both, Jonathan and Mike, for bringing me in today and coming back for the main event on May 19th. I'm excited. I'm excited. Coming in from the outskirts of Atlanta, and I'm Toy Johnson Vincent. I am a native New Yorker. If there are any New Yorkers in the house today, I just want to say hey to them as well. Yeah, but what about May 19th? Well, I can just tell you this. Networking for me, I've always, once I figured out what it really was, let's go back, I figured out that it is actually more than just for looking for a job. As we all know, sending out resumes, or you're receiving resumes for potential clients and or job seekers. But, you know, networking has essentially changed. And we didn't know it. It just changed on all of us, even as an HR person with an HR background. But what I can tell you is the good news is, although being challenged, you can see light at the end of the tunnel. Wherever the candidates are, you need to go to them or meet them where they are. And right now, if you are in the business of recruiting, or you're an HR manager, or whomever is handling talent acquisition at your company, you need to be able to get out in front of the potential candidates. Now, you're probably saying, how do you do that? Well, what I want to say is, just like we're doing today, whether it's through Zoom or webinars, you have to have more of those. That may seem time consuming. The first thing we think of is, that's too much time. I don't have that time. Well, we have to carve out the time to get, again, in front of potential clients or job seekers. It is really paramount. And again, you know, if everyone is online anyway, or a lot of people who are working from home, or a lot of employees now working from home, or they're doing the dual, they're working in the office as well as remotely. And I want to throw out this statistic. I saw this a couple of weeks ago, and it really got my attention. I'm going to read it. By 2025, more than 36 million will be working remotely. So if that doesn't say it all, I mean, you can get ahead, you have a head start. We're in 2021.
That's a good way to look at it.
You know, you got a head start. And so I want you to be excited, or more people to be excited, whether you're HR manager, staffing, CEOs, you name it, whatever the title is. At this point, all you want to do is get in front. How do you do that? Okay, we said, number one, start to be more virtual, as it will. You have to be more virtual, whether it's on their mobile phone or tablets or whatever. People will tune in. Just carve out if you can't do one or two Zoom or webinars in a month, then it may be one, but you have to decide, you know, collectively as a company, and the people who are most involved in the recruitment process, to make that commitment. And let me tell you a secret. If there's more than one person working at a company, then more than one person can actually host that event.
Well, this is great, Toy. We don't want to give away all your secrets between now and May 19th. But one thing I do want to ask is, where can people find your podcast? Because I know they don't want to wait until the 19th to look it up.
Oh, I'm so happy you asked that. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm new to the wonderful podcasting world. The name of it is Speak to Me First. Speak to Me First podcast. And you can find me on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and more, Breaker, etc. I'm out there, have a few uploads right now. So career development, life skill journey topics at your service.
Wonderful. Well, we are absolutely looking forward to May 19th, and everyone will see that on LinkedIn, and you'll be seeing invites. So Toy, we look forward to seeing you on the 19th.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jonathan and Mike. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'm ready for May 19th. Can't come soon enough.
Thanks for joining.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right, let's see. Did JD get back?
I did, I think. Can you hear me?
There you are. So we kind of skipped around a little bit. I'm going to go back to where we were. We were talking about, obviously, we were wrapping up on cybersecurity. So JD, let me ask you this. I mean, everyone talks about cybersecurity. It's, for lack of a better term, it almost seems like it's hopeless, that it's never going to end. Why should companies spend money on it? You know, where's the return on investment?
So there's multi-pronged return on investment. It can be as simple as, so the business impact here at the bottom of the slide, this is something that I witnessed firsthand. One of our clients had a major competitor that got hit with a breach of their network, and it took them down completely. They could not fulfill the orders to a large Fortune 500 company. So that company reached out to one of our clients. And you think, well, how is that related to cybersecurity? This client had agreed to several cybersecurity measures to close that gap. And because they were protected, and because they invested in some of the solutions like multi-factor authentication, the AI-based spam that Mike brought up earlier, they remained unscathed. So this company is still doing business with this large Fortune 500 company, and they've never looked back. The Fortune 500 company basically said, this just shows that company they were doing business with, maybe they can't count on them. So just the fact that you can ship product and that you can fulfill orders will give you a competitive advantage over those that decide that, $1,000 a month seems expensive. Well, it seems expensive until that cyber event that ends up costing you $500,000, or
Correct.
in some cases puts you out of business.
So your revenue is zero for the month, then $1,000 seems like nothing.
Yeah, it does. In retrospect, yes.
Exactly. All right. So, where do we go from here?
Okay, so digital transformation, that's the next topic here. And so this has been a buzzword for a long time, but in reality, what does it really mean? So a lot of people, when they think, digital transformation, it started with large corporations and these huge, extensive projects that were, a 10-year timeline, and they budgeted $100 million for it. And don't get me wrong, those things in large companies, they take that much time, they take that much planning, they take that much money. But look at smaller things that are actually digital transformation. So digital transformation comes down to data at the heart of it. So how do you create that data? How do people access that data? And more importantly, how do they use that data? So digital transformation can happen very quickly. And I'll turn it around here on John and ask him his experience. So they went through a form of digital transformation where we assisted them moving from an antiquated on-premise phone system to a cloud-based voice over IP that has a lot of features and bells and whistles built in. So John, if you would, give them a little insight into what you experienced firsthand. Sure. In a digital transformation that probably took 3 months from start to finish.
So, we had the same phone system for the last 18 years and it worked well. And really didn't have any issues with it. Well, then, came along a global pandemic and everyone started working remotely. And there were obviously people have cell phones, people have email, people have Zoom and team accounts, but that number was everyone's identity at the office. And being able to relay messages in a timely fashion with the old antiquated phone system was not a good way to transform the business. So we decided to go with a product called Ring Central, and there's a million products out there that are cloud-based phone systems. And, we got Compass involved to say, okay, let's go, we need to get this done. So from start to finish, it was about a 3-month process. But, now we have the capability that you could take calls anywhere on your cell phone from your office number. You could take calls on your laptop, and it just opens up, possibilities for how you could be in touch with people. And we have customers that have been trying to, that have had our direct dial numbers for 7, 8, 9 years with their current recruiters and their current account managers. and it really, really helped. And also it helps from a really from a productivity perspective, because you can see what everyone's doing during the day as they're working remotely, because there's all types of recording functions and reports that we have access to. So it is digital transformation at the simplest form, but it was very eye-opening to us. And I think the big thing is you're like, well, do we really have time to do this right now? Well, you don't, with that mentality, if you always take, well, we'll get to it later, it'll never get done. You just have to rip off the Band-Aid and say, let's go and let's do it. And it was worth every dime, and it was worth the time invested.
Fantastic. Yes. So that's just an illustration of how, you know, digital transformation gets thrown around a lot. And like I said, it can be those large, very involved projects, but it can also be very simple. You know, do you use Zoom or Teams? Obviously you do, because you're on this webinar. How many people used Zoom, Teams before the pandemic and before work from home? I'm sure a lot of you did, but think about the percentage of your time that was spent on those calls versus after everyone or the majority of people went to work from home. And a lot of organizations, you know, with Office 365, you already had the ability to use Teams. It just wasn't top of mind because the need wasn't there, but there's still a utility to it. There's still a value to knowing that you have those tools if the situation arises that you need to utilize them.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So one of the things that JD is willing to offer, if you're looking for a free assessment, he could definitely come, you know, he could definitely chat with you to see if there's anything that himself or Compass could help within your organization. There is his contact information. Please feel free to reach out to him. You know, he's obviously could help show organizations how they could save money or help automate some of their processes. So again, there's JD's contact information. Please feel free to reach out to him. We're going to skip over Toy because Toy joined us as you were getting back on, JD. Now what we want to do, Mike, we're going to open it up to questions. Let us know what you have.
Yeah, so I had a couple of questions from the audience. One of them goes kind of back to the email issue, but what are some of the basic tools any business should be using for cybersecurity?
Well, my list is probably going to be pretty extensive because I see the payoff in investing in those solutions. So things like dark web monitoring for your domains, and dark web monitoring, just to give people background, most people know what the dark web is. It is sort of a hidden internet that you have to have a special browser to access, and part of the dark web is nefarious. They sell credentials, passwords, they sell lists of curated email addresses for people to phish. They sell lists of executive information. So one of the things that we've seen is they target executives, especially in the financial industry, at their homes, because they know those firewalls are easy to penetrate. So some basic things though, multi-factor authentication is a huge one. That makes the password-based attacks almost completely irrelevant. So that a multi-factor authentication will stop, I've seen it up to 99% of password-based attacks, because without the authenticating device, and there's several ways you can go about it, they can never access your account. AI-based spam protection. So that is, we discussed a little bit early, the old way of spam just giving an email a score based on what it scans is a little bit antiquated now. The AI, like I said, will learn how you communicate. It will also pull in attachments in what we call a sandbox environment, and it will open those attachments and look for malicious content. So it's real time protecting that inbox in a much more in-depth way. Some of the other things that this one oftentimes gets overlooked, but I want to really focus on, you need to train and empower your staff. All of us have email on our phones. It's harder to see, the screen's smaller, you don't get to see the full view. But the user education pays off immensely if your employees know what to look for and where to look for it. If something looks suspicious, stop, look at these things that you've been trained to look for to stop the attack before it happens.
So I know that Compass works with both internal teams and can act as an outsourced partner completely. Is that something that, as far as training goes, is that something that Compass would be able to do and help an internal team train the users?
Yes, so we can facilitate training in a number of ways. Normally, the best scenario is we work with third-party vendors who do this sort of training for a living. And we create what they call campaigns. And so you will actually try to phish your own staff. So they will send out emails to your staff on a set schedule. And now they've improved. It used to be, it was just one email and it was kind of a template. And then the guy next to you could say, oh, watch out, I just clicked on this and they got me. So we've wised up to that a little bit. Now each person's going to get a different looking email so that you can't spread word around the office, because it's counterproductive to say, we're going to send out that same email and then the first person's going to click on it and they're going to send an IM out to everyone saying, hey, watch out, they're trying to phish us. And the same token, you need to have that training start when the employee is onboarded. So when they are brought into your organization, you need to make sure that they've done the bare minimums to go through and be made aware of how people try to attack you, what the attacks look like. And it could be as simple as, I changed the 1 to a lowercase l in a domain name. Now, it's very, very hard to tell the difference, but if the email looks suspicious and your employee's trained, they're going to know to stop and think, wait a minute, something doesn't smell right here. Let's look at this more in depth.
Mike, we're hitting our 45-minute mark. Do we have any other questions at this point?
Yeah, just one last question. Somebody said, what's a good % of budget to spend on IT? Because it seems like it is expensive to have something to protect you.
I would counter that with, it is much more expensive not to have something to protect you. So the way I look at cybersecurity solutions is it's sort of like insurance. You can get just the coverage that you have to have under the law and just hope that nothing else happens, or you can get some more extensive, comprehensive protection. So that, and it's nowadays we operate under the guidelines that it's when you get attacked, not if, because it's so prevalent. The threat actors out there, they have their own sets of impressive tools that automate the attacks for a lot of things. Would you ever drive your car without any insurance? I hope the answer would be no. So if you're just looking at cybersecurity as a cost, that's a mistake.
Okay.
Good.
All right. All right. Again, real quick, wanted to offer TransTech services. If you're looking for any market reviews, please reach out to me directly. More than happy to discuss what we're seeing in the marketplace. So there is
it's an investment, because you.
What's that, JD?
I didn't say anything. I think I just cut out again.
All righty. All right, and then there is JD's contact information, his email, his phone number. If you're looking to connect with him, by all means, please reach out to him directly. He'd be more than happy to help you with that assessment that he had discussed. And we thank you very much today. We apologize about the technical difficulties. Looking forward to seeing everyone on May 19th. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good day.